Hi, this is Worth Gregory, and in this video I'm going to explain my recruiting process, so maybe you guys can take a little bit from it to really help you guys out. From my junior year, when I really started punting, all the way up to when I committed to the University of Alabama. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button right now, leave a like or leave a comment in the comments below if you want to see a video that's similar to like this. Hit the intro. So my whole process really started out my junior season. So from the beginning, I started playing tackle football in kindergarten all the way through obviously through college. So I've been playing tackle football for a really long time, but really didn't start punting the ball until my junior year of high school. So going into my junior year, we didn't have a punter, and my brother kind of just told the head coach that I knew how to kick a football just from messing around on the field. So I kicked a couple footballs, and in that instance, I was the punter. That's what the competition was at that point. So that's how it really started out my punting careers. We just didn't have a punter. I was playing receiver. I was playing safety. I played some defensive end in middle school and growing up. So kind of been all over the place, but knew that punting was kind of my best chance to play at the next level. So started out my junior season punting. From there, we knew we had to find someone to help me out with my technique. So I lived in the Charlotte area in Fort Mill, South Carolina, right below Charlotte. So we reached out. We found a guy named Dan Orner who does an amazing job, and trained with him. We had a great amount of punters in that area that I was able to compete with. Guys like CASON, BEATTY went on to play at Florida State. Bradley Pinion, punter, ended up playing for the Bucks and is still in the NFL. Went to Clemson out of high school. Trained with Sam Martin a little bit, NFL guy. Bunch of talent in that Charlotte area that I was able to compete with on a consistent basis, and that's really what made me the punter that I am to this day. So after my junior season, I had enough tape where I took some time and sat down and made a junior highlight tape that I was able to push out on a huddle and on YouTube. So after talking with my kicking coach Dan, doing that was a big deal for me at the time. So set up my huddle, set up my highlight tape with him, and then I was able to kind of move from there through the process. So after my junior season, I set up a couple camps that I knew I wanted to go to. I had heard about Chris Saylor and I heard about Jamie Cole, so those are the two big ones that I made sure that I wanted to hit up after my junior season. So I went to one Saylor camp, I went to the Charlotte camp, and then I went out to the Vegas camp. I actually lost in Vegas to a guy named Brad Wing, ended up playing at LSU. At the time, I think he was 22 years old and I was like 17, so he had a massive leg. Lost to him in the finals at Vegas, to head into the finals, And then Coles, I went to the Georgia Showcase at Flowery Branch with a couple of guys that I knew from Charlotte as well. We all traveled down there. And then I went to the Southern Showcase, I believe it was like Roswell High School maybe in Georgia. But so I did both of those camps. I ended up getting top 20, top 25 in the nation on Coles and Saylor right after my junior season. So those really helped me out, not as much for a recruitment standpoint, but more so to be able to know the level that I was able to be at. So when I went and competed with those guys, I knew that I was kicking beside a guy with Division I offers. I knew that I can punt just as good as him, and I knew what my ceiling was and what I could go after. So after my junior season, I had my highlight tape. I went to some of these camps. I got ranked. I had a personal kicking coach that was helping me out. So now it was really the time to really reach out to schools after my junior year. So I spent a lot of time on email and on Twitter. So I came up with a whole email platform where I emailed every single special teams coordinator, every single coach in general in the nation. I BCC'd them, and I just put Dear Coach, so it seemed like they were the only one getting the email. And then in the email, I put my stats from my junior year. I put a link to my YouTube video, and then I put some of my rankings and stuff from those camps and some quotes and some stuff from coaches about like why I was good or what is a reason that they should recruit me. And I included that in an email, and I sent that out. I think I got like 7 replies out of like 2,500 emails, but I knew that was a start. So from those schools that responded to me, I took a couple unofficial visits before my senior season. I think I checked out, I went to Liberty, Virginia, Virginia Tech, some local schools, UNC. I think I looked at Duke. I didn't go to ECU though during my high school career, but checked out some of those unofficial visits. And then that really, going into my junior summer, really set it up so I knew the camps that I needed to go to be seen and what schools were looking for punters going into my senior season. So I took a couple of visits right after my junior season in that spring ball period, was able to check out some schools. I had my highlight tape down, had some rankings, and I had my email blast probably going out about every 2 months that I sent to every single school that I could possibly find. And I kept tracking a little journal of what schools responded to me. And then I knew I had about 7 or 8 schools on my list that I knew that were going to either offer a punter a scholarship or knew that they needed a punter because their punter was a senior or had a terrible average going into the year after that. So I wrote down some local schools that were within a 5 to 10 hour driving radius and really mapped those out with a few guys I was close with to really know what schools I wanted to go after. So when I showed up to their camps, I had this in hand actually. So this is the original. Let me see if you can see that. This is like my original DVD. I had a DVD with my name, has my links, all that, my email, location where I live. Inside of it is the DVD of my highlight tape from my junior season. So this is really, I spent so much time with this with my mom and my dad making these. We went and got these little DVD covers at GameStop. I think we paid like $1 for each one, and we made like 50 of them. So we took that to every single school, but the good thing now for you guys is you really don't need to go to that level. You don't need a DVD because that's honestly a little bit harder. Now you can just text them. If you get their cell phone number, you can just shoot them a link right when you see them, or right after you see them, say, "Hey coach, thanks for meeting me. Here's my highlight tape." And then the best thing I can say to you guys is after you take an unofficial visit in your junior year in that spring part is to write them a handwritten letter. Coaches really remember the guys that write the handwritten letters, and when I was coaching at NC State and at Utah State, I still have 10 plus letters of guys that have written me that I brought on official visits that I'll never forget their names solely because they wrote me that letter. So after that junior spring visits and all that stuff I did in the spring, it was now time to head into camp season. So went around to a bunch of different camps. I went to Virginia Tech, UVA, checked out some FCS schools, some D1AAs, Liberty, schools that were nearby, Furman, Wofford, some smart schools that I knew were kind of fallback plans if I didn't get the big FBS offer. Went to UNC, USC, Alabama, Georgia, all the schools in the Southeast basically that I knew at the time were looking for a punter. So went to those and competed, and I knew that if I went to 8 to 10 of these camps that I had a good chance of winning 2 or 3 of them. And 2 or 3 of them, one of them may pull the trigger, and all you need really is one. So did all of that and got on their board. You're not really at that point in the process going into your senior season. It's really hard to pull an offer as a punter. So the biggest thing for me was just getting on their board and getting noticed by them, and that then it was really a checklist. So I marked off the checklist of kicking live in front of the coach, and then I could constantly keep in contact with him through the process to find out what they needed moving forward, so that if they needed a punter that I was at the top of their board, they've seen me live and they were ready to pull the trigger. So after that, obviously got ready for my senior season. So went through my senior season, had an okay year punting. I think I averaged 40 yards on the dot. Wasn't crazy good. I didn't even kick off or hit field goals in high school. We had a guy do that my senior year. So we had a guy do those things. I hit some onsides, but just punted my senior year. And then from there, it kind of took off that spring of everything going on for me. Right at the end of my senior season, I got a preferred walk-on offer from Virginia Tech. I got one from University of South Carolina. And when I got the University of South Carolina one, I committed on the spot on my visit to Steve Spurrier. So I was committed to University of South Carolina. And the one thing I told those coaches, if they wanted to recruit a JUCO guy, that I was going to decommit. So they ended up actually signing a JUCO kid about a month after my commitment, and so I decommitted. So I had nowhere to go, no offers at the time, and this is April of my senior season. So the school year's ending, getting ready for prom and all that, and I still had nowhere to go. But lucky enough for me, the time I had spent emailing schools and going to these camps is what really put me on the board. So really kind of backtrack is when I went to the University of Alabama camp, a guy named Joe Judge got really close to me and really liked my film. So he is now the head coach of the Giants, but at the time he was the special teams QC at the University of Alabama. He really liked my film, and the way he got my film is one of my mass blast emails. Is he just randomly saw it. So that's how I got noticed, and that's how I got invited to the University of Alabama kicking camp, where I ended up winning the camp. Kept in contact with him all throughout the process, all throughout my junior off season, through my senior season, constantly, like every month, just hitting him up. How are you doing, coach? Sending out emails and constantly talking to schools, so that I could keep them on my board, so I knew I had something in my back pocket and knew I had schools to talk to. So when I decommitted from South Carolina, I had a list of 10 schools that I was still talking to through the process that I knew were still looking for a punter and were looking for a guy. And so I gave Joe Judge a call, and he asked for some recent video. I went out and kicked on a field, and it just so happened to be a hurricane basically going on. You can hear the sirens in the background. The wind is blowing, rain's going crazy. And I sent that video to Joe Judge, and he absolutely loved it. From there, I drove down a week after that, and this is end of April. I drove down a week after that, did a visit at the University of Alabama with the Alabama coaches, got offered a preferred walk-on, committed on the spot, and then that's how I got my offer from them. And then I showed up to Alabama about 30 to 45 days later after I committed. So it was really already on campus for the summer start of June and July to start summer workouts. So after summer workouts, I obviously was still on campus, lived in Bryant Hall, but I was told that I wasn't going to be part of the 105 by Coach Bobby Williams, who now is special teams coordinator at Oregon, moved around a little bit. So he told me I wasn't going to be in the 105 going to camp, but I still was going to be a part of the fall roster. So went home for August, came back at school start to be a part of the team for the fall, where I did punt return, I did second team punt during the season, and I did really well. I really showed out during the fall and pushed myself, and that was my main focus while I was at Alabama, because for me, as much as I knew that I wasn't going to get to play that year, I really wanted to push the starter or show the starter that I'm just as good as him. Because if I can do that, then I can show the staff that I'm going to be the next punter and that they don't need to go scholarship a guy. So redshirted that fall. We won the SEC championship. We won the national championship. We ended up with 3 of these. Got those in the process. Obviously a great time. Go to national championship in Miami, win the title. But it wasn't enough for me. I mean, as cool as those rings are, I wanted to play. I thought that was more important than any ring, is being on the field. So that was my main goal. I went into spring ball with the mindset that I wanted to beat out the starter. Now I know after going through college coaching that is just a crazy mindset to have. Like, they're not going to dethrone the starting punter after a 46-yard average season in a crazy good all-SEC year after a national championship to play a true freshman, you know. And that's the mindset I had, is that I wanted to beat out the starter. So I went through all of spring ball competing with Cody. Really thought that I did a good job. I think I averaged 46, 45 yards during spring ball. I think I got one punt in the spring game. They told me a second before I was going to go out there I was going to punt. I shanked the hell out of it. But that was really the only opportunity that I got to kick at Alabama. So after that, went through the summer. So we started summer, May, June workouts. Still thought I was going to be on the team. And in May and June, they offered a guy named J.K. Scott. Obviously an amazing move for Alabama, because J.K. Scott ended up being one of the best punters, not only in the history of Alabama, but possibly all of college football. Went into play in the NFL for a little bit, is still in the NFL. So obviously it worked out for him, and that's when I decided that I was going to transfer, because as a preferred walk-on guy, I was paying out-of-state tuition, which at the time is a massive amount of money, not only on my family, but on me, because I was taking student loans out to pay for this, and I still am paying for this. So from there, obviously went on the transfer road and ended up transferring to East Carolina University. Looked at a couple schools, but chose East Carolina University. Loved Ruff and McNeil. Made that decision, and then the rest is kind of history. So thank you for checking out my video. I hope from kind of the beginning to the end of my process and how I explained what my process was like, is that you were able to just take away one thing to really learn, or to really add to the way that you're going to go through this whole recruiting process. The one thing that I've learned, whether it's being a Division I coach or Division I punter kicker, is that no one's process to get to that position is the exact same. It wasn't the same as the guy that was the rank below me on Colson State, or the rank that was right after me. Whether you get a scholarship or preferred walk-on, your path is yours alone. So don't look at anyone else's, just kind of focus on your own road, and that'll be your best opportunity. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, you can hit that right now. Send me a DM, leave a comment, like this video. Anything you guys need, you can always reach out to me and I'll respond. Thank you.